At some point you went to school, you wanted to be a teacher.
At some point, yes. I was actually precisely 15 years old when I
Oh,
decided I wanted to be a teacher. I got a tattoo that says that means to teach in Chinese
at,
when I was
at,
15.
at
Yes.
15. Wow. Okay. I didn't know Canada had such lax tattoo laws.
Well, the I had an older sister.
Oh, no. Was there any fallout from that?
Actually, it's funny that you ask. Yes, there was. She was not too happy when she found out.
Oh, wait. Did you steal her ID?
This is a terrible way to start, but
Oh,
yes, I
this
did.
is where we start. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But okay. So, this shady part aside, you were on fire to teach.
I was, yes, I was. And
Why?
it's interesting. I don't really know what kind of set that off. I think it was partially the fact that I have a pretty big family and a lot of cousins, and a lot of them are, well, all my cousins are younger than me. So naturally, when I was growing up, I sort of was always the one to organize activities, and I would take this job seriously too. Like I would pre-plan things that we would be doing together. Like I'd print out little drawings that they could do. I was just weird. Okay. So it just came naturally to me, I guess. And I ended up teaching high school, not elementary, but still, the same vein.
So you knew that you just had this capacity to take charge of organizing things for young folk, I guess. Like on the very, just like trying to get it to total basic. You just had this proclivity to do this.
I think so, yeah. And there was a lot of teachers that either they motivated me to be like them, or I was like, okay, well, if this person can be a teacher, then so can I.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was, I, yeah, just from a young age, for some reason, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And
And
here I
what,
am.
what are the steps then to become a teacher in your province?
So you have to do a bachelor's degree, and then you have to do it changed from 1 year to 2 years of teachers college, the year that I actually entered. So, yeah, 2 years of that, and you get 4 placements during that time. So, like 5 weeks, no, like 20 weeks in total of just teaching in various schools, other like different subjects and whatnot, and then you're good to go.
How did you enjoy, or what did you think about the teacher training part, that 2 year certification or whatever it's called?
It was all right. I don't necessarily think that the 2 years is necessarily more useful than 1 year. The placements were definitely the most useful part of the program. Just being able to actually teach and learn from your own mistakes and things. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, we had a very small group. Like my class was only 9 students
Oh,
for two
wow.
years, so we got to know each other fairly well, and we I guess, well, we haven't really kept in touch, but we were basically friends by the end of it, and just going to each other's like weddings and
Hmm.
whatnot, and just have a good bond. So yeah.
And was this in the 2000s or the 2000s or 2010s?
Yeah, it was very recently. I graduated in 2017.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So with that timeline established, was there, shall we say, ideological training involved in your becoming a teacher?
It's
Equity,
kind of hard.
diversity, inclusion, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's
Decolonization, activism?
not that much, to be honest. But it's also a little bit hard to look at it now and try to answer that question, because back then I wasn't kind of aware of these things. I only woke up fairly recently, probably 2 years ago was when I realized that this was very dangerous, and I got very like aware of what was happening. But yeah, back then let's say there was some maybe more shady stuff, but I didn't really participate in it. Like I remember there being a diversity class, but I didn't take that class. So it wasn't mandatory. But now I'm not really sure how it is, but I have heard from some professors that the AQ classes have to, so the how do you say that?
Academic qualification?
Yeah, something like that. Like teachers can take extra classes for professional development.
Okay.
And those classes now have to have like a section of the course that focuses on equity and anti-racism. I was talking to one professor in particular, and she told me she had always taught this same class, and now that they added this section, she didn't want to teach it anymore. So there's that.
So you graduated in 2017, and then you went right to a placement in 2018? Or 2017, 2018? Or?
So I was in school from 2015 to 2017, and there's one placement of 5 weeks per semester. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like...
well, I'm just...
a little bit.
I mean, after your college or your education, you went directly into teaching.
Yeah. I got a permanent position right away. Right. And I started teaching full time, and
in 2017, 2018 school year?
Yeah.
Okay. So then 2 years ago, you say you started to see something. Is that 2020 or the 2019, 2020 school year?
2020.
Okay.
Yeah. I can tell you kind of the story of how I kind of woke up.
Okay.
If you want.
Well, yeah, I just want, I do want to hear that, but I just want to know what's happening in the world. Pandemic, Black Lives Matter, stuff's going on. Okay.
Yes.
You get back to school after a summer of love, or mostly peaceful summer of love. And then you start to see the encroachment or very explicit diversity, equity, inclusion push in your school. Is that the context?
Yes, kind of, but I woke up before the school year started. I woke up during the summer. So a few things led to it. I guess there was, first of all, when the whole George Floyd murder happened, initially I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. How could a human do that to another human? That was the way that I saw it. And then the whole racism thing came in, and I kind of bought into it at first. I remember putting my profile picture as Black Lives Matter. Like, seriously, this is how I had no clue. And I just thought okay, well, there must be, I just accepted the narrative that I was hearing. And I was like, okay, well, I must not know, enough, and I should get informed about this and all that. And then there was a teacher, a professor of mine. I did my thesis under his supervision, and he taught biology. And he put out a tweet saying something like, we've all evolved from single-celled organisms. It is so stupid for us to be racist. And then he tagged All Lives Matter in a very innocent fashion. I mean, the guy, first of all, he's from France, so English is his second language. He doesn't really necessarily know the intricacies of this stuff. And he posted it very innocently, and he got slammed. And I didn't know enough about this ideology in general, but I knew that was extremely, just the way that people treated him was horrendous. And the fact that other professors didn't really stand up for him, there was only a select few that did. I just thought that was horrible. And it was during that summer that I was preparing to teach a biology course. I did my major in biology, so I was really excited about this. I was going to teach grade 11 pre-university biology. So I really wanted to build a class that was going to be good, that I could keep for the next few years, that I could teach this kind of over and over again and just modify it every year. But I wanted to have a good, foundation. So I started listening to podcasts like religiously. So I was listening to anything that had to do with biology, pretty much. I was listening to a lot of evolution stuff because I'm personally extremely fascinated by evolution and just by like how evolution shapes human behavior and all of this stuff. So I fell upon Jeffrey Miller, and then that led me to Joe Rogan and Gad Saad and all of these amazing thinkers, right? And just in hearing them talk, I was kind of starting to connect the dots, and they were saying exactly what it is that I was thinking, but I couldn't necessarily express it before. And
which is what?
Which is that there was just this weird obsession in our society with these groups. And like, as much as I originally thought that it was a good thing in a sense, like I thought, okay, well, if this group feels a certain way, like we should talk about like just play into this identity politics stuff a little bit. At that point, I realized like it doesn't lead anywhere good. Like in the end, we all want to be just seen as human beings rather than as members of groups. Like, isn't that like the end point? Like, or shouldn't it be the end point where we're all
if you're
just accepted?
white? Yeah, that's a total white thing to say. I'm kidding. Well, I don't know though. I mean, it depends on the culture.
Yeah.
And the ideology. The progressive woke-ish side, not so much. The classical libertarian or classical liberal, why can I not say it?
Libertarian.
Classical liberal to conservative side, yeah, places the individual on top. But once you get away from the center, it becomes more and more group identity focused, so far as I've researched. But yeah.
Yeah, so it just, I started just, I guess, seeing the dangerous side of that and kind of thinking about where that leads, and thinking about like freedom and how I think I was fairly naive until that point in that I thought that freedom was just kind of a thing that we had and we could keep forever. And I was ignorant, I will admit it, but I just thought that, you know, this isn't something we have to fight for. We're in Canada, we're fine. But I was looking at all this stuff and I just thought, I think we're repeating some of the mistakes in the past. And if people don't stand up to it, like, it's going to go horribly, horribly badly at some point in the future.
Okay, so your progression wasn't to look at the repercussions of standing against it so much as the repercussions of not standing against it. That's how you evaluated the situation.
Yeah, that's interesting. An interesting way to put it. But yeah, that's exactly it.
So what did you start to do, say, or think?
To be honest, I started speaking about it right away.
Oh,
and
okay. In
yeah,
what
like
format? On your teacher meetings, to your little school, or to the world at large through Twitter? What?
I don't think I had Twitter at that time. Maybe I did, but if I did, I wasn't really tweeting very much. But it was mostly, I guess, Facebook, Instagram. Actually, it's interesting to note, though, when I first woke up, I wasn't on social media at all because I had taken a break. And I think that's really important because I think that's what people need to do these days if they're going to wake up, is they have to like remove themselves from the environment where they're always repeating the same kind of rationalizations and not kind of stepping out and thinking about it. Like, what do they truly think? You know, not just like what's going to be appropriate, what's going to be the thing that gets me the likes right now or whatever. So yeah, I was actually off social media, and it was the fact that I felt the need to speak up that got me back onto social media. I didn't necessarily want to be on social media. I still don't. I think it's a big waste of time, but I just thought I need to do my part to at least share a different view and see if that might make other people wake up the same way that I did, sort of.
Okay. I total aside, but we know that we're in that you're located in a boomer house because there's somebody actually has a plug-in phone that rings.
Oh my God, could you hear that? Yeah.
I just have to, what an odd little thing. I just have to like respect the elders of the past and their ways of communication.
My dad is a pretty traditional guy.
Boomer. That might be, before we go, my next question with regard to your story is how you begin to communicate, but maybe just getting a sketch of your origin, like culturally, religious, not religious, kind of just taking advantage of the Canadian culture. Like, what's kind of the background of where you grew up mentally and socially?
Well, I haven't ever really been too religious. I did teach at a Catholic school, but I kind of felt a little bit unsure about that. But anyway, I got the job offer and I just decided, well, my values pretty much align with Catholic values anyway. Treating everybody the way that you should and kind of following that golden rule. I thought that was important. So I just did it. And I do see the value in religion. I'm not.
But you didn't grow up religious.
No.
Just kind of, I guess, kind of slightly liberal bent. It's Canada, so there's not really a hardcore right necessarily.
Yeah. Like my dad was always conservative, but okay. I was always aware that conservative was like a taboo. And so that's it. I always sort of like, I wouldn't tell people that my dad was conservative, if that makes any sense. Like I just always thought like it was a bad thing, but I didn't necessarily know why. And I don't know. It was a weird thing, especially in my circles, because in education, I mean, if you're a conservative, like you're done. You know what I mean? Like people openly will bash. Like I remember when Harper was the prime minister, like it was just everyone would speak negatively about him. And it's like, I don't know how much they actually knew about him or about what he was doing and whatever, but it just felt like it was the only way you were allowed to think, I guess. So for me, that caused a little bit of confusion, I guess, because here I am, like my dad's a great guy and he's cares about the environment. He cares about like all of these things. He's just a very caring person. And here are all these people saying that conservatives are like bad. So I always kind of kept the option open that like conservatives are not bad, but I didn't necessarily voice that. And I didn't know enough about politics to ever kind of defend conservatives in a coherent way. So I just, until I started listening to podcasts that summer. And then during that time, I listened to podcasts a lot. Like I will tell you, like I was obsessed because it was like my world had been shaken, right? Like all of a sudden, like all the building blocks, right, had just fallen apart. And I was like, oh my God. Like I remember calling my dad that week many times. And I was like, wait, so when you said this, like, oh my God, you're so right.
What do you mean that week? What was it about that week? Was there like an initiatory, like Joe Rogan episode 1046 with, I don't know, Jordan Peterson and somebody else? Was there like a specific event? Why do you say that week? What was that week? Well,
I don't know if I can. I remember the grievance studies affair was something that really striked me. And I remember calling my dad like midway through an episode where I believe it was Joe Rogan was talking to James Lindsay, and I think Peter Boghossian might have been there too.
Okay.
And it connected so many dots for me because I had taken classes like that in the past when I was in university, like 2012, 2013. I had taken, I don't even remember the name of the class, but it was like a grievance studies course. And it was just the weirdest thing. And I had this feeling like I couldn't oppose the ideas in an intelligent way at that point yet, because I'd never had kind of the other view of it, but I just knew that it was wrong. Like there was a lot of things where it was like, well, why am I not allowed to take this other position? It was like, oh, okay, for your essay, you need to write about how this movie portrays this character in a negative light because of this. And it was like, well, I disagree with that statement to begin with, you know, but you weren't really allowed to disagree. There was other weird stuff in that course too, where it was like, she'd show a video. Oh my God, you won't believe this, but it was a video.
Oh, I went to Evergreen. I'll believe it. Go on, bring it on.
Okay.
Challenge me.
Okay. So it was a video of a woman who was pulling yarn out of her vagina while she was on her period. And we were supposed to look at like the yarn, the like discolored yarn, and think that that was like empowering in some way and talk about that for like a whole class. So this was the kind of stuff that I felt was very odd.
I don't know what it is, but there's this contingent of academic, specifically feminism, or like there's this one contingent of feminism that is obsessed with the vulva and drawing it and praising it and worshiping it and doing things with it and exposing it to sunlight and stuff. I don't know what that's about, but it's just a part of the deal.
Yeah, I wonder if it's still like that today, because now that the whole trans activism side has come in, I don't know, maybe they're not. The
Vulvani have kind of retreated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what you're painting is that you were like Robin DiAngelo says about whiteness or white supremacy. You're just kind of in this water. You're just swimming in this water that you kind of subconsciously know that the conservative it's really intolerant about a certain set of ideas. You have connections to those ideas through your dad, but you're in another environment. You're being exposed to, you know, this grievance study stuff, this assumption, this indoctrination over education type of academic style, but you just kind of go along with it. 2020 comes along, something pokes your brain. James Lindsay says something, or Peter Boghossian makes one little statement, and it starts to reorganize. And you say, Daddy, or sorry, I don't mean that. Dad, what is going on? What are your ideas? You just start to look. You start to see this whole other thing that you just taken as granted or for granted and lived your other life. Things start to crumble. Yeah,
I was pretty much blissfully ignorant, and I bought into the whole, like, let's be kind and let's do this for this group and that for that group, and like, let's use this pronoun for this person and this, like, and it was just, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was like full woke in the sense that there's a lot of aspects that I didn't follow, but there was a lot of aspects of it that I did buy into, and I didn't necessarily connect the dots with everything. Like, I didn't really know that it was all tied together in an ideology, which in the end is totalitarian, anti-free speech, anti like diversity equality. Yeah. So that was when I really put it together, and it was like, oh my gosh, when I'm supporting these efforts to categorize people based on their group that we've just kind of randomly decided is like the group that we're going to use to analyze. Like, I mean, why did we choose race? Why did we choose gender or whatever? Like, it could have been anything, right? But we just randomly chose these groups and made them, like, put them at the forefront of our analysis of society. And it's like, by doing so, we're not helping anyone, and we're creating this toxic environment where no one can speak their mind.
It feels good. So. It feels good to put Black Lives Matter on your profile picture. It feels good to go out in the street and yell against the system, right? It feels good to, like, support Trudeau. He's beautiful. He's a beautiful man. Right?
Oh my gosh.
His voice is so silken. He dresses all the right way.
No.
Well, even before that, I'm just saying, like, before your wake, you probably were a Trudeau fan, right? He probably pushed a certain number of buttons, right? No? Or did you
did vote for him the first time around. Okay. So yeah, I guess there is something to that. But yeah, now Yeah, as you can imagine,
Hmm.
I can hardly stand to look at him.
Well, things turned up in Canada since 2020, if you can believe that. Okay, so you decide to speak. You already know that there's an intolerance to other ways of thinking. You already know that there's a vehement denial of the conservative position as anything other than fascist, let's say. Maybe not, maybe Canada at this point is not as intense about opposing viewpoints, but you already know that. So when you begin to decide to speak out, how do you speak out? What are your methods? What is the tone of voice that you affect, the position that you begin with?
At first, it was more like sharing articles and not commenting on them.
Okay.
So just a very passive way of saying, like, here's another way of looking at it, but not directly saying that I share that viewpoint. And I think I confused a lot of people at first because at school, like I had been the leader of the LGBT group the
Oh,
year before. Yeah, yeah. And I think at first I had a lot of comments that were kind of like, wait, are you for this or against this? And I had a lot of people starting to slowly like delete me. And I remember it being fairly stressful in the sense that I never knew whether like I would log into my app and then see that I have like 20 notifications and I've been like bulldozed and everyone's like mobbing me. Like I never knew if that was going to happen or not.
but it did happen.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it was necessary. Like most people just deleted me and didn't say anything.
Okay.
Or ever so
That's the
often I have.
politest type of cancellation, the block and the unfriend. Yeah.
To me, that's the worst type of cancellation. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, like I would much prefer someone who's gonna argue their point and tell me why I'm wrong and have a conversation with me, or you know, maybe entertain the thought that I might not be like a bigot or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
Being rejected
yeah,
from the echo chamber hurts your sensibility or defies your sensibility in some way.
yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, like I would have liked an opportunity to like defend myself or discuss or tell you why I think this way, not just have you assume something about me based on a viewpoint that I had that differs from yours. But at the same time, I feel like I understand that viewpoint because I used to sort of feel the same way in a way. Like I had I for example, if someone supported Trump or something, I would have like not wanted to associate with them. And now looking back, I know that's I feel like that's a bit crazy because I didn't know enough about him. I didn't know, and I'm not like a Trump supporter, a huge whatever, but I think that the hate directed towards him is often, I guess, misplaced. Like it's from people who don't necessarily know enough about the policies he's putting in, like what he's doing. They just look at his face and they hate him.
Well, and part and parcel of that on the other side, they look at a narrative such as Black Lives Matter, and then they just accept that. That lawn sign in this house, we believe Black Lives Matter, or science is violence, or silence is violence, science is godliness. I don't know. You know, that whole
Love is love. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that whole meme. It's just like, these are our tenets. We just accept them. Anything that is vaguely critical of these things, we know that it's a part of the other side. And the other side is basically Nazis, but some of them are just not quite full-blown Nazis. They're basically adjacent, Nazi adjacent kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you begin to share articles on social media, maybe have argument here and there, lose some friends. What about your job? What about going back to school, going back to work?
That was fine. I mean, there was some awkward moments maybe when I saw someone that I knew had just deleted me, but in the end, I really didn't care as long as I got to go in and teach and go back home. It wasn't the end of the world for me. Like I didn't necessarily need everybody to like me. I just wanted to be able to speak.
And you were allowed to.
Yeah, at first, yeah, until there was a formal complaint against me, I was fine, and the formal complaint came fairly quickly. But well, well, I guess not that. Let's see, a few months after I started speaking.
So in late
So
2020, early 2021?
yeah, February 2021 was the complaint, and I probably started sharing some stuff in the fall of 2020, like October, end of September, I would say.
What were they formally complaining about?
So the official complaint, which is the one and only complaint that has been submitted, which is still the one that I'm being investigated for now, is a complaint that had to do with with two comments that I put in a private Facebook group for teachers. So it's a group where you have to actually give your member code for your from your regulatory body, so they actually verify who you are. And it had a lot of members, and I had never been an active participant. Like, I don't even think I had commented in that group one time, and I had been in it for a long time. And one day I was just scrolling through, and there was someone who's like, it's for Black History Month, I want to teach about Black Lives Matter. Like, can you share resources? And I didn't really think too much about it. I just wrote a comment that said, we shouldn't indoctrinate kids with critical race theory. And often people will be like, well, they're talking about Black Lives Matter, but critical race theory is obviously the fundamental kind of like underlying philosophy of critical race, of Black Lives Matter. So I just said, we shouldn't be indoctrinating kids. We should treat everybody with kindness, blah, blah, blah. It was a very basic comment. And then I just added a video from the UK Equalities Minister, Kemi Badenoch, who was just saying how their government stands against critical race theory. They don't want any teachers teaching taking sides with politics. And that was it. And then within 10 minutes, I had like 10 people coming at me, and I ended up leaving the group.
What was the substance of their pushback?
Oh, I was upholding white supremacy in schools. I don't speak for all teachers. Are you really a teacher? What is wrong with you? Like, kind of things like that, where they're all liking each other's comments, and there's nobody obviously who's going to stick up for me. I'm sure every person who had taken my who had expressed my sort of point of view in the past has just left the group, right? So it's just become a big echo chamber. So yeah, I just, all these accusations, and I ended up just leaving the group. And I remember calling my dad that night, and I was like, yeah, so like, we'll see how this goes. I was kind of expecting something to come of that because of the way that people attacked me for it. And the fact that I knew the group was so big, like there must be one person on there who's going to like take it to the next level, not really think it through, and put a complaint in. And the next day at school, I got handed a letter that said that I was under investigation. So that's what started it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're still under investigation.
Yes, but it's a different investigation. So I was investigated, and that investigation ended a month later. This was an investigation by my school board.
Okay. But what are they investigating? Did they have you in a room asking you like all of your reasoning about progressivism and conservatism? Or are they just trawling through your entire social media feed? Like, how do you investigate somebody for having an opinion? Or how do they?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I truly don't know. All I know is they took a month to come to their conclusion. And during that time, I met with them once. We had a meeting that was, can't remember. I don't think it was more than 30 minutes. Okay. And to be honest, I wasn't that stressed about it because I knew I hadn't said anything like that was outrageous. Like I was just saying that we shouldn't be taking sides. Like a school should be impartial. That's what education is, you know? So I just went into that and I said exactly that. I just defended my comment. And I thought that I'd be okay. And about a week later, they told me that I was suspended for a week without pay, and that I couldn't talk to any parents. I had parents. I had 4 meetings with parents that night. Like I was supposed to call 4 parents, and I couldn't call them anymore. So I don't. So
Why?
it
Why were
looked
you
really
not?
bad on me.
Yeah. Why? What is the justification for suspending? They just said that we've investigated. You're suspended.
Yeah.
You can't talk to parents. No reasoning. Did you see a report that was written up on why?
I had, well, they ended up, so the reason that the investigation started was the comment, and they ended up throwing in like 2 other things into the investigation, as they do, I'm told. And so there was like 3 reasons, but the one that had to do with the comment that I made, it said that I had made comments about visible minorities.
Oh.
Yeah.
You shouldn't comment about visible minorities. How about
Apparently
invisible
not.
minorities? Can you talk all day and all night about them?
Yeah.
Did they just make up the term visible minority? Okay, yeah. That's more shocking to me than the minstrel thread, but it's
I
such as
mean,
Canada.
how you go from we shouldn't indoctrinate kids with CRT to you commented on visible minorities is a very large jump that I don't necessarily understand to this day. But yeah.
They found 2 other pieces of dirt on you
Yeah.
as well. Okay. Did you wear your baseball cap backwards at a game in like 1992? You know,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was. Hopefully, those ones like won't. I let's just. I should probably not get into the details of them.
Okay.
Or I could, but let's just put it this way: I didn't do anything, and they were very desperate to dig up some dirt on me, and yes, so that was over, and I thought that was all done. And then this year, like a year after the initial investigation started, the Ontario College of Teachers started a second investigation against me. But this time they dropped the other 2 things that they had thrown in. So it was just the comments that I made.
About visible minorities.
It says, on this day, you posted this comment in this Facebook group. And it's the 2 comments about critical race theory and the video that I posted.
Okay.
So, and that's still ongoing.
What is the allegation? They're just saying that you made these comments, so we're going to
investigate
in perpetuity. Yeah. What are they investigating? How much time? I guess they're going to watch this video.
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
And so what was your response a year ago to being suspended? Did you just go silent, go dark?
No, I just kept talking. I don't think that I've done anything wrong. I'm not a discriminatory person. I'm actually fairly nice if you get to know me. So I just kept on speaking out about this because I think it's important, and I think we need to defend freedom of speech. And even if somebody's wrong, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying I have the absolute truth about everything. I'm just saying that I should be allowed to speak. You know what I mean? Just like everyone else should. And so I just kept on speaking. And I mean, I'm going to keep on speaking too, because I don't think that I think everybody has a role to play in this. Like everybody who sees what's happening right now should do everything that they can to speak. Because at this point, the way that it's going, like everybody is just getting silenced, and equity officers are getting hired, and policies are going into place, and all of this stuff. And it's just growing and growing. And I mean, at a certain point, it's going to be really hard to push back on this stuff. So I think that the time to push back on it is now.
Well, if they're willing to use all these regulatory bodies to investigate in perpetuity people who speak about visible minorities, but I'm sure that Facebook group, that private teachers Facebook group, all they talked about was visible minorities all the time. So it's not about making comments about visible minorities, it's making certain comments about visible minorities. Like, you're actually supposed to talk about them constantly and talk about them in a certain way. So it's well, anyway, so the reason it doesn't make any sense. They have a tremendous amount of power. I mean, Amy Hamm, who's a Vancouver nurse, is being investigated for being involved in a billboard that says a woman is an adult human female. She's being put through this grinder of this regulatory body. It seems like Canada has taken on a communist Soviet style angle on social issues to encroach into the thoughts and expressions of its population. How do you stop that? And it doesn't seem like they'll let you stop it, because it looks like Trudeau has made it so that he can control the media. He's in bed with the NDP party or whatever. He's got like a lock. This bureaucracy, this totalitarian government you guys have, has a lock on everything. Right?
So it's I don't know what you do, but you definitely have to do something, right? And I think that involves speaking up every single time you can with everyone that you know, your neighbors, your whoever you can talk to about this. Just be like, yo, I heard this happen the other day. And like, what do you think of this? You know, like, just bring it up. Don't be scared to, like, most people agree fully. They just don't know what's happening. And I think, like, a lot of people are organizing right now. I've got 2 friends who are going to be running for school trustee in the fall, and hopefully more than just the 2. But we have to organize on a massive level. Have you heard of Mike Ramsey?
Yes. I know Ramsey Ramerton. Who's Mike Ramsey, for whoever?
Oh, that's a story. You might want to have him on, actually, if you want. But he is a school trustee. He happens to be Black. I believe he used to be like a police officer. He served in the military. He's just a really, like, stand-up guy. And anyway, he's against woke politics. And I think Mia Ashton, when she was on, she talked to you about Carolyn Burjowski, the teacher who brought up the age appropriateness of some books at a school board meeting. When she did that, she was, you know how that was handled. She was silenced and kicked out of the meeting and all of this. And Mike Ramsey, and I believe it was one other trustee as well, stood up for her. So since then, it's almost like the board has this political vendetta against him. So he was elected by the public, right? He got like 10,000 votes from the public to serve as a school board trustee. And the board has now decided that he doesn't get to be a school trustee, pretty much. He's been kicked out of the meetings until September, I believe. He can't, he can't even attend. And the public doesn't know why. It's all a secret. We don't know who put in a complaint. We don't know what the complaint was.
He probably commented on a visible minority, man. You just don't do that. You don't do, even if you are. I don't make a comment on him being one, but it doesn't matter because he probably did.
Yeah, well, I think it had something to do with he shared articles from conservative thinkers, which is hilarious because I think one of them was Jonathan Kay, who's not a conservative. I believe he's a liberal, but anyway, he's more liberal minded anyway, more on to left. But yeah, so he shared some articles and stuff, and they didn't like that. And I don't know exactly if that was the reason, but regardless, the point is, this is a Black guy. He is speaking out against this ideology. And even though they keep on telling us, listen to the lived experience of Black people, listen to the lived experience, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your color is, as long as if you have a different opinion, you're out. And people should be looking at this and start to ask questions like, why is this happening? Why is a black guy not allowed to have a different opinion? Why are we putting all black people in this like category where they're only allowed to say certain things, and white people are only allowed to have certain positions, and gay people too? And it's like, this is so regressive. I don't understand how people are still going along with it.
I don't know how Canada law or Canadian law is set up, but it sounds like the only way, well, one way to combat this is lawfare. So you can't do this. This is discriminatory. Is there any recourse for you, yourself, in your position to have an advocate?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm represented by lawyers at the Democracy Fund, and they're like constitutional lawyers, and they're going to hopefully just defend my freedom of speech and just the principles that I stand by, which is like equality and things like that. And hopefully that will be enough to protect me and to set a precedent for anybody else who has different opinions about this. Because I know so many teachers right now, like you wouldn't believe, like just my inbox is filled with parents, teachers, everybody who's just like, oh my gosh, what can I do to help? Like, I'm so sorry. I don't want to like your post. I don't want to speak out publicly, but I am so happy that you're out there doing. I got a handwritten card from a fellow teacher with a $250 check in it. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is how strongly people feel like, about this. Like, it's, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is. But if people aren't going to speak up, they're allowing sorry, going to go there. Their silence is compliance. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to say. I understand people, they have to like, eat and they have children and stuff, but unless they want to hand over their lives, which is what they're doing, they need to stand up. I'm tired of people being cowards about this. I'm tired of it. It's just so stupid. I'm just so tired. It's like, okay, I'm sorry. It's like liberals are going to get the bullet first. You guys are going to get the bullet first, and you're allowing it to happen. It's cowardice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to take a strong position. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of this bullshit.
I can absolutely relate. Sometimes it's like, man, just stop being so like, stop hiding it. If everybody just spoke up for what they thought was right, this would be gone. This would be out the window. We could proceed with our lives. You know what I mean?
Well, after it's gonna be a dust up. It's gonna be suing. It's gonna be, people are gonna have to sacrifice their jobs. People are gonna have to sacrifice their time. People are gonna get censored just like you. Mm-hmm. And their lives are gonna risk that. But yeah, at a certain point, it'll go back. But it's so encroached. It's so embedded in the law, Canadian law. You guys don't really have like a Bill of Rights so much. You guys have this Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is being gamed for the government to get more and more power over like what you can say, what you can think.
Yeah.
And the media too. Trudeau has the power to just deny media the credentials. The media that doesn't say what he wants to say. It's total authoritarian. It's total China. Mm-hmm. Sorry to be, I'm just fed up with it. I just don't know. You guys are so far down that the time is well past due for people to stand up en masse. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know how to light a fire under Canadian asses. You guys like have so much tundra up there and so much cold weather that it's just like it takes a powder keg to get you guys up and moving. I don't know. I don't mean to diss your countrymen.
I mean, the Freedom Convoy was something that really brought a lot of hope, because it was like, oh my gosh, like people do care, and they do care. Like they do care about freedom to the point that they will sacrifice. They will travel across the whole country just to protect it. And like those people sat in like minus 30 weather and for days, and they had no bathrooms. And, like that is the kind of thing that really brings me a lot of hope. But yeah, we're gonna have to light that fire in way more people and quickly too. Um, I just saw a video from Andrew Doyle. He posted it like yesterday or the day before about the need for people to speak up. And I think it's just such a great video. It was like 7 minutes. And it really, like, I just really want people to watch that, to understand that, like, if they don't speak up, it's not getting any better. Like, yeah, if you don't speak up, you might keep your job for the short term, but like, you won't have a job in 10 years if it goes to complete dictatorship sort of style thing. Yeah, like, and I don't want to be extreme, but I don't know.
The entropy goes in one direction unless you constantly fight against entropy. And this is entropic. This is the totalitarian state, just like munching away on freedoms. It's going to go in one direction until it's pushed back. It actually takes force to clean up your room because it just gets dirty. And this is just the room falling apart. At least under one analysis. Andrew Doyle, though, he's a very, he's a crafty man. He's very good at articulating things. I'll have to give him a shot. Yeah. So are you suspended in perpetuity? Are you able to work? Are you able to, like, I guess now you're just hanging out with your cousins and like making them, like, micromanaging their time? They have a big, like, crafty balsa wood, like, cityscape that you guys are building this summer.
No, actually I'm not that close to my cousins anymore. They're all kind of in different cities, and but yeah, I mean, right now I try to get a few little side jobs. Like, I was looking to supply.
So you are suspended. You got fired then?
No. So, okay. So I can explain that. So I'm not technically suspended right now. I could work, if they wanted to hire me, like if they Google me and they're not terrified. But it hasn't really gone that way. Like, I did try to get supply teaching positions. I didn't get through the process, even though I know that they're quite desperate for teachers. So that was a little bit of a shock. But I have some health stuff going on, which, like, I can get into, but if you want, but I ended up quitting my job for that reason in August of 2021. So otherwise I would probably still have that position in Barrie until they decided to fire me or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then what do you do? We don't have to get into your health, but what are you doing then? What are you focusing on?
I did a little bit of tutoring here and there, but mostly I'm just trying to do what I can to, like, push back on this stuff. I'm in contact with a lot of people all the time, and I'm trying to connect people to each other. And is
there like a singular organization yet, or a resource that people can get in contact to see the talking points, investigate what's happening further, and maybe accidentally get enough courage to pitch in?
Yeah, I would recommend contacting FAIR, becoming a member of FAIR. I'm sure you're aware of that group.
Foundation
Against Intolerance and Racism. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So they just approach it from a different perspective of just more humanity and fairness rather than divisive identity stuff. And I think that the Canada Fair just started like a year ago, not even, I don't know, I wasn't involved in that at all, but it started to gain a lot of traction, and because it's got so many people now, like, we've divided it. We have a Fair Ottawa, I'm in Ottawa. So we have a Fair Toronto, Fair different regions. So that would probably be a good step for people if they want to get involved, just to be connected to people. There's Zoom calls happening. There's a lot of educational stuff that they put on. I guess that's the main thing. There's Catherine Cronus, who's a really awesome mom in Hamilton, who started a group called Lighthouse. And she's really has worked really hard to push back on the illiberalism that's going on. She started a petition against Bill 67, which were you familiar with that? The equity anti-racism bill sort of thing.
No, I haven't heard about this one.
Yeah, so it was a really, really scary bill where it was saying basically that teachers could be penalized like with fines and stuff for not going along with anti-racism stuff.
Okay.
So if like it's been a while, but it was really, really cracking down on any dissenting voices when it comes to this. So Catherine put together a petition, which an MPP, Belinda Carajalios, read, and then the bill did not pass. So that was really good because it had already gone through 2 readings.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't happen. But still, I mean, I spoke to a lot of people where they're like, oh, well, that's so good. Like the bill didn't pass. Like, so we don't have to worry anymore. And it's like, yeah, but the bill, like I got investigated and stuff and the bill hadn't passed either, like it's not, we don't need the bill for this stuff to be happening.
No.
Yeah.
No, they, and not to say that they won't just try again. It seems like they like to try again. Like, oh, it didn't pass. We'll just do it again. Let's do it again. It's entropy again. It's entropy. I kind of understand. I'm trying to get a grip on Trudeau and his regime. They want to usher in a just society. Well, okay, let's just trying to like take out all the conspiracy crap and all the authoritarian. Like, it's time. When he got elected, he's like, it's 2020 or whenever it was, 2018. So we're just going to do this. It's just time to do this. It's just time to do this. And so he's just going to do everything in his power, and they will do everything in their power in order to create this just society. The problem is that just with the gender thing alone, they're not actually with C16 or another one, another C something, where they put in this gender stuff, this anti-discrimination gender stuff, and then later on they don't release the stats on it. They just don't release how this is impacting. Oh yeah, we're going to be completely transparent, and they just don't release the transparency. And they have to get sued, and even all the conservatives, so-called conservatives, MPs or whatever they're called, just like, oh, we're just not going to release this. We're not going to release this. So it doesn't seem like that they want to have accountability. It doesn't seem like they want to have any feedback on if this is going to work or not. It seems like they have complete faith in what they're going to do, and to hell with anybody who stands against them, and to hell with reality if it doesn't stand with them, because they're just going to do this. That's just how I perceive it. What do you see?
That's exactly right. They've completely rejected any genuine approach to like seeking the truth. They don't allow questions. They don't allow other lived experiences, like they don't allow anything that goes against their ideology. And they've really gotten good at just shutting down any opposition by using shame tactics and fear sort of tactics and basically bullying. Yeah, I think that's completely right.
And it seems, I don't know. Do people not see that Trudeau is a complete hypocrite? People generally think that he's a well-meaning guy. He's not really hypocritical. Like he'll restrict your rights and freedoms and bodily autonomy and your right to choose what goes into your body, but then he'll shout to American women to come up to Canada because your bodily autonomy is he cares about that more than anything in the world. Like,
it's funny.
Are people starting to see that this doesn't add up?
It's like he just remembered what a woman was a few days ago. But he like apparently I saw a survey recently that said he has an 8% approval rating. So
but he controls the polls, right? He controls what polls get published. You're also parliamentary good, too. 8% is a good.
No, like 8 is probably fairly accurate, I would say.
Okay.
Like that 8% still support him. Like I think there's some diehard Trudeau fans that like, regardless of what he did, they
it
would just
doesn't,
keep on supporting him.
like, we just have to translate that into American, because you guys are in a parliamentary system. You don't need half the people to like you. Like,
Yeah.
Biden's got like a less than 40% approval rating, which is terrible. It's like very, very bad for him. 8% would be complete murder of him, but it's a little different in Canada, because you guys have a parliamentary system. There's a bunch of different, it's not just Dems versus Republicans. There's these coalitions and stuff. Is 8 like the death of him, like political death is what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I think like the last time I heard about approval ratings, now I might be butchering this, but I'm pretty sure it was like 33% like a few months ago or whatever. So I think it has plummeted and people are done with him.
Okay.
But like I know teachers who just woke up like a few months ago. Like they voted for him in 2021 and now they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I voted for him. So I think a lot of people are waking up. It's just a matter of whether we can get more people to wake up.
Okay. Yeah. So raising awareness and vitalizing or encouraging, empowering, I guess is the term. Resistance. Raising awareness, empowering resistance is key right now. That's, I guess, what you're focusing on, or kind of your message or your purpose right now. Is that fair?
Yeah. And also I just want to be out here and be like showing people that like I'm still fine, I'm still alive, I'm not like I'm saying all these things and I'm doing well. You know what I mean? It's hard for like, I mean, I do get a lot of hate. I've gotten death threats. I've been called all sorts of names, but I don't care because I don't value those people's opinions. I mean, yeah, I guess part of my role is just to show people that it's doable and that you can be okay. I think it's hard at first to take that first step to start speaking out, like really hard, but that's just like anything. Like if you're gonna move to a different city, like you're going to feel really weird about it, right? You're going to have you don't know what to do, you're stuck between two options. Or like if you're not sure if you want to leave your boyfriend, your girlfriend, that's a huge decision and it stresses you out. But once you make that first step, like all you can do is survive from there, and you get stronger, and there's a lot of strength that comes from just being authentic as well. So that is something that you might not expect at first. Like you're not necessarily expecting that you're going to get like this strength coming your way, from like standing alone and being attacked, but you do, right? Like you go to bed at night and you know that you're doing the right thing and you aren't wondering anymore what options to take. You're just, you've made your decision and from there you just roll with it and you hope for the best. And I think for me, like it would be useless for me to stress constantly and to like about what's going to happen to me. I do stress about Canada, but on a personal level, I don't really stress too much because like what am I going to do about it? Right? Like it's just, I'm in this position and all I can do is my best and just keep speaking up truthfully and hope. And I do have faith that things will turn around. So,
yeah, I guess the other, I expressed some frustration with those people who have made the calculus and decided to keep quiet or to not speak up. And I kind of called them cowards or lacking courage. But on the other hand, their conscience will eat away at them until they do something. And being free from a bad conscience is probably that's the positive things. Like at least you're living in conscience, or at least the Jiminy Cricket and you are getting along, right? So there's the other side to that too. But I can't imagine, like, you say like in 10 years your job's going to be gone. It's like, no, 10 years you're just going to have less and less soul. Your soul's just going to be pushed and pushed down. And then you'll have less to go to if you do get out of that, if it'll let you.
If ever there comes a point where, it's beyond what you ever wanted to accept, it's pushed your limits and you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, there will be nobody to stand up for you anymore because everyone's going to be gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like uh, it's, we need to massively organize where everyone's standing up at the same time, because what's happening right now is one person standing up and then they get shot down, and then the next one goes up and they get shot down.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I'm one of those, you know, like reckless martyrs coming up. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I'm just gonna get shot down, and then but
Joan to Ottawa.
we just need a massive resistance, and we have the numbers. We have the numbers. I mean, if everybody in my inbox spoke up tomorrow, we would obliterate the opposition, you know?
So how do people get back in your inbox? How do people connect with you, and what are your resources? Are you you're speaking up on Twitter? You're doing engagements such as the one that you're engaging with right now. What are you up to? Where can people find you and get involved with you, support you too?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I guess that would be the best way. So I'm on Twitter at Chanel Pfahl. So I'll spell it out. It's CHANL. So Chanel, but just the letter L, and then PFA, because my last name is Pfahl, spelled very weirdly. It's German.
But so you're French German, Chanel.
Yeah, Chanel.
Huh.
Yeah, my first language is French, and
oh.
Yeah.
Is that a burden for you to have to suppress that all the time? To not be like your authentic self and just French out all the time?
No, not really. My dad is English. My mom is French. They both sort of speak. Well, my mom is fully bilingual. My dad understands French and gets by in French.
Especially when she's mad at him.
Oh, they're not together anymore.
Oh,
that must be why.
Oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like being bilingual, and I taught in a French school for a long time, and so
do you have
Twitter
Twitter, and do you have a Substack or something like that? Yeah.
I did write an article on Substack, but it's not my own Substack. It's a Substack called Woke Watch. Woke Watch Canada, I think. But I wrote an article about everything that's happened to me and just my view on all the situation, if people want to check that out. And yeah, that's about it.
Do you have a secret talent, like you're good with cars, or you play the xylophone or accordion?
Not really. I'm not that cool. I have a guitar that sits in my room. I wanted to learn how to play, but I never did. But I guess my one of the things that I can say I'm good at and I'm proud about is dog training. I really, I have a shepherd, and I really, really enjoy just dog training in general. I've done a few things in the past where I've helped people with their dogs and stuff, and I just get a kick out of that. So,
have you ever been in a show or taken part in a dog show? Have you gotten to that level yet?
No, not. I did do the training classes with her and stuff, but mostly it's just the fact that I can walk around the city with her off leash and stuff, and she's fine, and I can, just things like that I just see myself doing that in the future. It brings me a lot of this happiness. So yeah,
it's fun. It's cool. Surprising.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I mean, of all the things, you could have been a golfer. Well, you're a dog trainer.
Well, not officially.
Well, yeah, maybe you can get the certification as long as you don't speak about visible thoroughbreds. You'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for hanging out with me, Chanel. I'm going to wrap up the recording part of our discussion. You want to say goodbye to people at home?
No, not really.
No, you don't? Okay, that's fine. Oh, you don't want to say goodbye? Okay, there we go.
Bye.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.